Closing out, the ability to live in open brokenness. As I began this adventure into open brokenness, I happened to view the movie Bohemian Rhapsody about the life of Freddie Mercury, the lead singer for the rock group Queen. This movie is a gritty, real-life version of events that shaped the life of someone who experimented in just about every way you can in life, trying to find something with lasting satisfaction. Although the realism makes it a movie I probably couldn't recommend, the storyline is very accurate in portraying what people are looking for in today's culture. A line that stood out to me seems to describe this search process when Freddie describes to an agent, "We are four misfits who don't belong together playing to the other misfits, the outcasts, right at the back of the room, whom I'm pretty sure they don't belong either." Why would a bunch of misfits want to play in a band together, being received worldwide by millions of other misfits? What is the appeal of open brokenness? I believe the answer to that lies in our ability to use what God has given us in our human connection, our abilities to be all we have talked about in this book. What must take place, though, is that we must begin thinking in open brokenness. It cannot be only a good idea or a coaching technique. It must become a lifestyle that we live in order to change our culture. The odd thing, though, is that in order to do this, we will have to go backwards through the process to understand how we can move forward through some meditations. One of the first meditations we must think about is our own spirituality. Where does God fit into our lives? If we can answer this question, the rest will all come naturally. Spirituality is the glue that holds everything together, the seal that encompasses all we say and do. We must look within our very soul and see where we fit in with the world around us, how our spiritual lives connect to the physical world around us. When we address this first, we can move forward into the other areas. But without spirituality as our base, it will be very difficult to really set the context for change. Another meditation we must think about is how our mutuality connects to our spirituality. Who do we consider our brothers and sisters, and how do we interact with them? Are they a part of how we think and make decisions in some type of symbiotic relationship? Or are we on our own looking at everyone else from an island of theological perspective? Can we have true mutuality without having a spiritual connection first? These two work together in helping us become a single unit that God can work through and change the areas of our life that need changing together. When we work together in a spiritual atmosphere, we can create a mutuality that will not be easily broken. As we contemplate these items, we must be able to incorporate three key areas: community, elasticity, and authenticity. At first glance, these three areas probably look like three separate ideas. But as we meditate on what each one does and how it works within the context of spirituality and mutuality, we see a synergistic relationship. These three areas work together to create a strength that can only happen in a community setting, where there is a willingness to be stretched and the opportunity to be real and authentic. Can we imagine what would happen in a church context where everyone felt a sense of realness and at the same time be open to thoughts that may be foreign to their original theology? That would be real community. And the people who struggle with our current theology of church would be open to a place where this is happening. When we can develop all of these into our lives, we can then become accountable to others who think the same way. In many circles, accountability is a word that's not welcome until we are put in a situation where we need accountability and even ask for accountability. In order to have an accountability relationship with someone, these other areas must be a part of the relationship or it will not succeed. There must be mutual trust as well as shared experiences that bring people together in a unique, harmonious way. When these are present, we are more open to being accountable to someone else, as they have experienced many of the same things that we have and feel like there will be no judgment. In any culture, accountability must take place so that there is no anarchy. We have seen many cultures where there was no accountability, and these cultures always were destined to disintegrate into chaos. Finally, these traits will lead us into a relationship that is the crux of open brokenness, vulnerability, and transparency. As we work through the process of our own spiritual lives and how we connect to others, we must model in our own lives the culture we are trying to create. For there to be true open brokenness, we must open ourselves to being vulnerable to others and their brokenness. As we become more open and honest with each other, a synergy is created that brings us to a unity that was never there before. And the world will notice. They may not understand, but they will see something that is very unusual in today's world, and they will want a piece of it. At that point, we can share the true love of God and His grace that gives us freedom to move forward when we don't have the energy. In that relationship of open brokenness, we can share our vulnerability through our transparency. If we go all the way back to the beginning of creation, we can see an example of how God created an atmosphere with people who experienced total openness before there was brokenness that was brought into the world through sin. Listen to the first few verses of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. One of the first steps we need to take is to empty ourselves. The earth could not have been created unless the atmosphere was first formless and empty. In our own lives, we must allow God to hover over us as we become empty and formless of whatever we have experienced that stops us from letting go. Everything that gets in the way of open brokenness. As we begin this process, we must let go of anything that fills us with the wrong attitudes and selfishness that lead us in the wrong path. This would be the ultimate beginning to becoming open in our brokenness and allowing God to replace our stuff with His Spirit. Secondly, we need to declare two truths in our life: that we are made in God's image and that we were made in goodness. Look at these two verses from the end of Genesis 1. So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them. And God saw all that He had made, and it was very good. The world wants us to think that we are worth nothing, and we're told this in many ways. Some people grow up in abusive homes or live in violent marriages or have a boss that is manipulative or demanding. If we would not only think positively, but declare to the world that we are made in God's image and that we are good, we could be a light in a world full of darkness. This is the way God sees us, and He wants us to see ourselves in this way as well. Lastly, we must decide ourselves. Will we fellowship or will we fall? When God created Adam, the Bible says that there was no suitable helper found. So God created a woman who would complete him, and Adam had a choice. Will I fellowship and allow this other creature to become my soulmate? We must make the same choice many times in our own life, choosing which people we will allow into our world of open brokenness. But these need to be people who understand. When we find someone who truly understands our world, we naturally cling to that person and want to pursue fellowship. Adam was also given another choice. God had put him in charge of caring for everything He had created and was only given one restriction: stay away from the one tree, knowledge of good and evil, that's in the middle of the garden. When he found the woman eating some of the fruit, he had a choice, and he fell. This was the point where brokenness came into a world of blessing, and the openness that was shared in the garden was disturbed. We have the same choice today that Adam had in the garden. Do we fall or do we follow? Living in open brokenness was never meant to be easy, but the best achievements in life are gained through hardship. And if we can develop all of these traits, we might just recapture a piece of the original relationship God had with the first people. So I end with this question: are you willing?